Hello, everybody, and thanks for the very kind invitation. I am Professor Mohamed Naguib Wifi, and my lecture is in endoscopy, which is a trend or a type in the endoscopy field now. Of course, all of us are aware now with the presence of global catastrophe in the planet Earth because we have so many environmental accidents and environmental catastrophes like tsunamis, like melting of the ice, like woods burning and fire in the woods, and so on. And this led to so many protests that is demanding to help the planet Earth because the planet is having so much trouble with the greenhouse effect, and the planet is literally and actually burning, and we are losing our resources because of this greenhouse effect. So there is a trend now to make everything greener and make our planet more green. And there is some movements everywhere, and in the saying we have to go greener and everything must get more green and greener life and so on. So, what is this has to do with the healthcare sector that we belong to? The healthcare is responsible for 4.4% of this greenhouse gas emission worldwide, which is a very huge number. In first place is anesthesia, second is pediatric and ICU, and this dancing guy in the third place is the endoscopy unit, our unit. Not only that, we come in the second place for waste generation after the radiology, and radiology now they are reducing that by not printing films and not printing reports, which seeing the films on the screen and sending you the report as PDF. So soon we will become number one. Why is that? Because we have a high volume, of patients and so many procedures every day, single-use items like injectors, like cannula, like syringes, like biopsy forceps, snares, so on so on. Resource decontamination, we have to decontaminate every instrument after using it and using it and during using it, and so much water consumption, significant demand of administration, writing reports and printing them, and consents and paperwork, so much. Patient and staff travel. This is in the United States was estimated to be 85 point thousand point 768 metric tons, which is equivalent to burning 1 million gallons of gasoline, to equivalent to burning 94 pounds of coal, pounds of coal, and driving your car for 212 million miles. Sorry, I have some cold and still not fully recovered. So, in that context, reducing the environmental impact of healthcare, there is now considerable interest in the carbon footprint or the greenhouse gas impact of gastroenterology, hepatology, and GI endoscopy practice, and hence the term green endoscopy. Of course, green endoscopy does not mean that you ride green car, dress in your green shirt, be photographed beside green plants, dress your patient green gown, use green mouthpiece, and so like that. Of course, this is just a joke. Going green or greener endoscopy is by reduction of environmental impact of the GI endoscopic. How we can do that? The steps should be practical, feasible, straightforward, has some tips and tricks, and you can do it everywhere. Impactful, they have meaningful changes, and they, of course, differ in the waste generation and reduction of carbon footprint. Be balanced. You have to ensure quality, high value care along with safety and cost. And of course, must be scalable because once enacted, you have to be able to measure what you did and make some scaling of it and be able to be readily expanded. This is achieved by something we use it in our life. This is our life philosophy now, as low as reasonably achievable or allowed. Of course, there are barriers for that. It's not easy task because we have, of course, financial barrier, which is a barrier to so many things. Regulation barriers like infection control, device certification, and fear of missing lesions, and huge knowledge gap because we don't have evidence base, we don't have guidelines, we don't have formal training yet for such this green endoscopy. That's why all the respectable societies worldwide have shown so much interest in this term of green endoscopy and try to put something like a prescription for that and practical steps to achieve that, like the British Society of Gastroenterology, the European Society of Gastroenterology Endoscopy, World Gastro Organization, American Society of Gastroenterology Endoscopy, and so on. So our steps will be simply assemble a team, and we will call it endoscopy green team, and it must be representative to all the members of the gastroenterology endoscopy unit, secretarial, nurses, and so on. And by that, you have to engage those members, set goals, and establish a committee charter. And you must meet regularly so that you know what you did and what you still didn't do. Understanding the baseline process and the problems by building local knowledge base, assess your practice waste handling, not only putting the things in different colors of bags or band or pins, but also you have to implement that. How is that? By reviewing the important background differences, interviewing and engaging endoscopy staff, all staff, nurses, technicians, endoscopists, and fellows, young and old, and you have to perform a waste audit. You cannot audit yourself. There must be somebody who is auditing your team. So choose a task or alternative practice to implement, like review published purpose initiatives and select a task that is more relevant and easy to apply in your practice. Identify alternatives and to what you are doing now, and by them losing so much waste, and try to implement the new things. Consider ease of implementation, cost, and potential gains. How is that? By ensuring appropriate segregation of waste, particularly the hazardous one. This is very dangerous. Optimizing the recycling program, and I think we do this recycling in all our units now, and optimizing the use of single-use devices and avoid use more than one device per patient. If you are going to do polypresection, try to use one snare to do that. Or if you are taking biopsies, try to take one biopsy forceps only to take all the biopsies of the patient. Reduce energy expenditure, turn off the light and the electrical equipment, the computers, the printers, the lights of everywhere after you finish work. And if you're working in one room, there is no need to turn on the electric devices in the other room. Assess your interventions. Assess the lasting effect of your intervention and revise and recommit as necessary. How is that? Select easily measured environmental metrics like the bags, the weight of hazardous weights generated per day, number of so and so. Track those metrics during a baseline period, a month, quarterly, and so on. So you can be mindful and of other practice metrics portraying a quality of care and cost that may be impacted. And then try, of course, to make a network, collaborate and share your practice with your peers and your colleagues and your local and regional networks. Disseminate your knowledge and receive advices and receive experiences of the others, and incentive environmental action by rewarding individuals and groups who achieved and who did well. Discuss your activities, collaborate with other GI groups, and acknowledge, of course, the accomplishment. So we have to do all those 5 steps. Assemble a team, understand this live process and the problems, choose a task or alternative practice, assess your intervention, and of course, make a network and collaborate and share. This is achieved, of course, by 5 R's, because you have to refine that and do it again. Those 5 R's is reduce, reuse, recycle, research, rethink. By reduce the overall waste products, reduction up to 40% of endoscopic procedure, overuse of unnecessary materials, unnecessary biopsies. Then reuse gowns, reuse endoscopic accessories, sterile water, recycle less accessible and labeled recycling pins, segregate individual recycled components, train endoscopy staff on that, on recycling, and of course, you have to make training for that. And of course, there are some things that is pre-procedural, some things are peri-procedural, and some of them post-procedural, and some of them can be disposed at any given time. So the further lead for that, you have to research, reduce the unnecessary GI endoscopic procedure and lengthen follow-up intervals, determine the performance and environmental impact of non-endoscopic diagnostic alternatives, estimate the carbon footprint of single-use and reusable accessories, and define the key performance measures. Research that. All those can be researched. As you can see in this slide, those are all suggestions for research items: pre-procedural, procedural, post-procedural, and general. You have to choose one of them or two and make them at the research. And when you succeed, then pick 2 or 3 more. So then after that, the 5th step is you have to rethink. See if there is guidelines, if there is something that you learn after you communicate with others, with collaboration and networking, and involve, of course, the manufacturers and the stakeholders, and tell them what are your needs. Maybe they can come up with better ideas that can enhance your practice and make it more greener. So this is something called the ergonomics. Of course, you know it, ergonomics of the unit. And here are suggestions how that you make your unit more greener, and there are color coding for that. You can also put that, and this is suggestions by the European Society of Gastrointestinal Endoscopy. You can put that on the gate of your unit: reduce, reuse, recycle, rethink, and research. In a nutshell, there is increasing indication of endoscopic interventions, but there is environmental costs related to that. So the next challenge is finding a balance and following what's called ALARA, as low as reasonably achievable principles in our endoscopy, reducing our carbon footprint. The entire gastroenterology fraternity, from the individual and unit level till the national and international society level, are the need of the hour to streamline green endoscopy initiatives and to follow the tenets of reduce, reuse, recycle, research, and rethink. Of course, this lecture and so many lectures are found on my YouTube channel, and thank you very much.